What's up guys, it's Drac, and when it comes to 3D printed blasters, there's a huge focus on integrity and strength. Because 3D printing, particularly with FDM, has a lot of different inherent weak points. Now, it's got a lot of strengths too. It's quick, it's easy to rapidly prototype, and you can make tweaks on the fly. It's also kind of modular in that you can melt and or trim different parts if they don't come out exactly right. But ultimately, you're searching for the proper formula depending upon the shear forces on your part and your laminate layer heights for strength. Now, that's part of what makes the Arcane blaster so nice. But what if you wanted to go even further? So what you just watched were little time lapses of SLA printing, which is to say it's essentially a resin that you print by shining a laser into it, which cures it one layer at a time. And what that does is that lets you get even higher durability and strength depending upon the chemical composition of your resin, because you can get resolutions down to the micron. In addition, at least for all of the parts that I've been using, which are admittedly parts designed for FDM and then translated into SLA and then tweaked a lot of the settings, you're getting 100% infill, which normally is not the optimal strength in an FDM part and leads to a lot of extra weight unnecessarily. But in SLA, it's necessary for the structural integrity of some of these blasters. And while we've done a couple of SLA blasters at this point, and we have a couple more in the works right now, I wanted to show them off to you and show you just kind of what makes them so special. Because when I say high resolution, I'm talking down to the micron details. So just to prove my point, this is a properly printed SPAMF with metal filament. This is protopasta steel. It's one of my favorite filaments to use for personal projects and blasters, and it is a naturally very heavy filament. It's printed at, I think, 40% infill with 3 to 4 parameters and some of the settings tweaked for various thin spots, but overall this is a pretty heavy print in and of itself, as the steel powder in the filament makes it heavier than a regular PLA. The midpoint segment for weight here is right about there. Essentially where the pivot is on the mag release. And on this SLA print, it's like a full couple of centimeters over. Past this point and into almost the magwell divide there. And that's because this is seriously chunky and seriously heavy. So for those of you that like a little bit of extra weight to your blaster, this can be a lot of fun. Now this resin is called Durable. It's Durable's formula by Formlabs. I've played with clear, I've done the gray, I've done some tough, I've started hybridizing the resins. I really want to start dyeing the resins as soon as I'm confident enough to get that down. But what you get at this point is an ultra high resolution print where you can almost see grain in the resin by the time it's all said and done. The overall purpose of this video is just to talk about this new technology and some of the common misconceptions about it. The number one complaint with SLA is that people feel like it won't survive repeated impact, and in fact, because of that weight and some of the different properties, like if this was a clear resin, I would not do that. But since it's a durable resin, it's got an almost rubberish sort of property to it, I think that it's quite nice. Magazines still chamber cleanly and it fires quite nicely. But as proud as I am of the SPAMF done up in all durable, which gives it a very funky sort of translucent feel, I'm way more excited to show you guys this. So this is my new personal Talon Claw. It's Arcane 42 because it certainly meets the resolution requirements to be an Arcane. It's got a funky piece up here from Reciprocation Props, and of course is rocking our Tooth and Nail Mini. That said, it weighs about 6 pounds, and it's a seriously heavy, like very nice primary class, like but compact Talon Claw. And I always wanted a super high resolution Talon Claw. I wanted something kind of unique. The way that this guy is semi-translucent and has an almost ghostly like apparition feel to it, in addition to just having a really cool and unique tactile feel, makes it something really special to take into battle. Now, as good as they look in the studio, let's take you downstairs, let's show you where they're made, some of their hiccups, and then let's take them outside for a little demo. So I want to bring you guys on down to the printer room, and while I'm pretty confident in the FDM arena at this point, we've been using that a lot on nextlevelnerf.com. This is Orpheus. He's named Orpheus because he's literally been to the underworld and back. He was broken for quite a while, and we repaired him, and he's currently doing a purge so that he can do another print in durable. I really like the durable resin for our hobby, but it's just a UV case with a resin tank, and the laser shoots up onto a build plate. But I wanted to point out that if you're thinking of getting into this, it is expensive to go to the form route, but you're getting materials that are pretty high quality overall. Their customer service leaves something to be desired. However, if you can get a hold of my man Lucian over there, he's an ace, and he's made it very, very accessible and easy to get this guy repaired, back up, running, and rocking and rolling. Now, the thing that I want to mention is even if you do all of that, or if you go a cheaper route into your SLA journey, post-processing is a nightmare for these parts. You have to have a way to cure them, either with a UV box or a bright and warm kind of environment outside constantly. You need alcohol baths, which is right now very difficult to get your hands on. It's hard to get 91% or 99% ideally. Ethanol, so that you can wash your prints in it, and in addition to like washing and trimming and curing, then eventually you have to take into account that a lot of the parts that we print in the hobby were not designed for SLA, so you better be ready to like tap holes into what's effectively glass, etc., and so forth. But if you're willing to do all of that, you get some truly unique properties that are really, really special and very, very cool. Anyway, that's Orpheus. I've also worked with the Form 3. I'm looking forward to working with the Prusa resin printer at some point, but it's just a lot of work. You're going to need a full alcohol station, then a clean station. You're going to need gloves. You're going to need stands. You're going to need a variety of different tools and tweezers and gloves. And like I said, again, if you're looking at getting into this in the near future, a lot of this stuff, because it doubles as medical stuff, is pretty hard to get your hands on. But pretty cool. Alright guys, so since the number one complaint about these blasters is that since they're resin, they're going to be fragile and they're going to destroy themselves, I just wanted to come outside and showcase that while I am still testing the technology, each of these blasters has had over 1,000 shots through it at this point, and they're doing pretty good. So the durable resin here is pretty tough. It's pretty impact resistant, and it's kind of easy to work with in terms of like screwing into it. And this is pretty normal performance for a SPAMF. I used this one to great effect at the SENC War. Looks like we're all in the HVZ range here. This is a remarkably consistent blaster. So this is a really funky SPAMF because in addition to being one of our first resin prints, we also used a aluminum Caliburn barrel for it, but shoots very straight. I just really like the SPAMF platform. People have told me that it's like a Tech 9 almost. And it definitely has those vibes, but the blaster that I'm really proud of is Arcane 42. In addition to the resolution and the comfort of all this resin, the overall aesthetic and performance of it just can't be matched. I mean, that is a really slick, competitive grade. Like, I just like it so much. I barely ever use the optic on it. I mostly just fire kind of instinctively, but I like the kind of ghosting effect that happens on the stock piece. I like the overall look of it, and I think that it's ultimately quite durable, as the resin's name would imply. The gray is a prototyping resin, but seems to be pretty structurally sound as long as you're not using it as impactful parts, so it's a good spacer here. It breaks up the color nicely. It can be used as a functional part, as long as you're willing to be really careful in how you like do your deburring and finishing on it, because a lot of resins are very glass-like. They kind of chip instead of sculpt like plastic. The durable is somewhere in between the two and lends itself very nice property-wise to nerfing applications. In particular, I'm really looking forward to trying out tough in the near future and see how I like that. And I want to do some color dyeing. Mess with the overall resin's aesthetic, I think. But the weight of it is quite nice. It's really the kind of thing that you have to feel to appreciate. But the purpose of this was not to be like, hey guys, I figured out resin printing. The purpose was to be like, hey guys, I made a lot of mistakes in resin printing and eventually got to the point where I could make both beautiful and functional parts out of it. I think that it's way too expensive and the post-processing is way too much. For example, a tank of that resin costs almost $150 just as is, but I don't see myself offering these commercially outside of the occasional one-off that I will not announce. It'll just blip up onto the site, but it's just a lot of fun to work with new materials. It's a lot of fun to learn new skills, and ultimately that's what nerfing's all about, is like tinkering with new stuff. And this is a perfect example that while everybody might not agree at first, sometimes new stuff is really cool and very unique. So I'm pretty happy with how both of these projects turned out. Like I said, I have a few more things in the works which are pretty slick. But for now, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know. If you had access to a resin printer right now and all the flavors of resin in the world, what would you make? Maybe I'll pick the best comment down in the comment section below. So upvote the ones that you really like, and we'll throw it on to Orpheus and see what he thinks of it all. As always, guys, much love. Nerf on. Drac out.